Okay, and this here is the strange story I want to show y'all. The strange story of Eugene the Mummy. I came across this on Twitter. There's a guy on TikTok who talked about this, and I was blown away. So I looked it up myself and verified it and found evidence of this. When I show you, 'cause I haven't showed you this story, you're gonna be it's crazy. So I'm gonna show the video first of him explaining it. Then I'm gonna show
Come here.
come here. I'm gonna show a story, an article on it. Let me show. All right.
I'm glad you are. Come here. Because I'm going to need y'all to explain to me how a black man can stumble into a city in 1929 and not get buried for 35 years. So for 35 years in Sabina, Ohio, they displayed this black man that came to their town and died. They used him as Halloween props by the local high school. They took him on parades. The students at Ohio State took his body, would put him up as props all around campus. They plucked his gold teeth out of his mouth. Over 1 million white people traveled into the city to see the attraction. And then finally, after 35 years, the owners got tired of people stealing his body after they stole his ring off his finger, and they decided to bury him. Until this day, white people still make this journey to go see Eugene's body.
This shit
What?
is this way.
They treat you like you're a. They use this black man
That's
dead
necrophilia.
body.
That's a form of necrophilia.
Yeah, they use his body as a
Tourist attraction.
Tourist
They use it
attraction.
as a weird. Just wait. So here's
This
this.
is fucking crazy.
Now look at this. History has forgotten the bizarre Ohio event from 90 years ago. Sometimes events could be too strange and unsettling to explain, so they're eventually forgotten altogether. If you've ever heard of Eugene the Mummy, you should know that he was a real man who passed away in Ohio. He came to a small town in Ohio for work, died of natural causes, quote unquote,
We'll
And was-
never know.
and was never identified. To this day, he has yet to be identified, and it took nearly 36 years for the town to bury him. Read on to find out how and when and where this strange piece of our Ohio history unfolded. The town of Sabina, known as the Eden of Ohio, was once home to Eugene the Mummy, an unidentified dead man who became an unusual roadside attraction and was displayed in the town for more than 36 years. Although he was rumored to be looking for work, he was found dead days later on the side of the road, supposedly from natural causes. Who the hell dies on the side of the road from natural causes?
Somebody killed him.
So he was killed. In the late 1920s, a man known, so he was found walking along the road just a few miles outside of Sabina. The body had no identification on it, only a slip of paper with the Cincinnati address of 1118 Yale Avenue, which led to nothing more than a vacant lot. At what point did you go to that address? Did you wait 30 years?
That's what it seemed like they did.
Although the body was never identified, the unidentified man became known as Eugene simply because a man named Eugene lived near the address of the slip of paper that led to the vacant lot. Eugene was taken to local funeral home where he was embalmed and held for identification, an identification that was never made. For more than 36 years, Eugene rested on a couch in a small building behind a funeral home where people got word of his strange display. They came from all over to see Eugene. Locals frequently gave directions to out-of-towners passing through. Over the years, millions of people from all over the country came to Sabina and observed Eugene, yet no one recognized him. Think
But
about
let me tell
this.
you what they did. They felt like, because this is what I'm getting out of it. The owners of the funeral home
Yeah, nobody knew him, so
felt like because nobody knew him and they couldn't identify this man's body, that they owned him.
Yep.
And could use him however they wanted to use him. So they used him as a display to make for tourists.
Yep.
They used this man's body for tourism off his body. They felt like they owned him because they couldn't identify, quote unquote, who he was, which I believe that's a fucking lie.
I believe it so too. I believe they killed him. I believe he was killed and they just did this. Eugene was finally buried after multiple disrespectful pranks were pulled with him. Locals even report that one night some college students stole the body and placed him on a park bench on campus. And this is the video. Today, Eugene rests in a grave in town cemetery. The headstone reads, Eugene, found dead 1928, buried 1964. Let me show you all this.
Sabina, nicknamed the Eden of Ohio Town Cemetery. Its curious headstone reads, Eugene, found dead 1928, buried 1964. Some 60 years ago, an unknown black man was walking along this road about 3 miles outside of town. Word was that he came to Sabina looking for work, but never made it. His body was discovered lying here along the roadside. Townspeople say he died, apparently, of natural causes. The body had no identification, except for a sliver of paper with a Cincinnati address on it, 1118 Yale Avenue, which later turned out to be a vacant lot. But a man named Eugene lived near the lot, thus the corpse now...
How much later? They keep saying later. It turned out to be a vacant lot.
Man, this got lies all over it.
So at what point did y'all go to the actual address?
When they decided to bury his ass in 1964.
Had a name. People began referring to the man as Eugene.
He was brought to the local funeral home naturally, and they embalmed him and held him for identification. And no identification to this day has ever been made.
It's funny.
So Eugene was placed in this little building in back of the town funeral home, and there he rested on a couch for more than 36 years. When people found out, they came from all over to see the bizarre sight.
Because everybody came to town wanted to know where he was at. You'd have to go give it for directions, and they still do.
He's a legend. He's here with us and probably is going to be.
These people, look.
Are devils.
Oh, this way. You can't tell me that these people don't have extreme psychological, I don't even know.
The town.
Not the, no, these people. Who the hell? It's so many levels of crazy. Okay, you got the funeral home that kept him on the couch for 30 years. Why didn't you just bury him?
He didn't have a smell to him?
They embalmed him.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
So why not just bury him? That's one crazy. That why you got him body
hold up for 30.
He's embalmed. Once you embalm, they stuff it. You can last.
Okay.
He's mummified. That's why they call him a mummy. So you sat him on a couch instead of burying him. That's already what the hell wrong with you. This guy, this woman, he crazy as hell. The way she sound. Then, how do you even find out there's a body on a couch in Ohio that I want to go see?
Seems like they promoting it.
So there you go. So who told you about it? Radio stations, television?
Like they used to do hangings.
Exactly.
Pick a nigger, which later became picnics.
So the level of crazy. So you got the people that the funeral home, then you got the people that want to see it. Then you got the townspeople telling you where it's at.
Nobody had common sense.
Nobody said, this is weird, bury him.
Nobody said, y'all need to stop fucking doing this and bury that man.
So not only did one prank get done where they took his body and drove around with it, took his body and put it on the college bench, it took multiple things to happen for you to finally, I don't even think you buried him because of that. It seemed like you buried him because somebody in that 36 years said, this is crazy, bury him. Somebody finally came along and said...
Because you wasn't holding his body for all that time for identification.
It was tourism. So at some point, somebody came along and said, this is a bad look, bury him.
And look at her. She looked like a man.
Yeah.
This curiosity that brought people from all over the country to their little town.
I got calls from, Indiana, as I can remember, far away as Cleveland and places, wanting to know if they'd come down, where they could locate him.
When you came to town, you went around to see Eugene, and that, at that time, there was no enclosure. He was out there, available to the public, and it was a real brave thing to do if you went around at night, to view him, because that was kind of scary.
But then young pranksters began playing cruel, disrespectful tricks, stealing the man's body and taking him on joyrides around town.
Ohio State students, I guess, did kidnap him one night and laid him on the park bench up there at the campus, and they had to go get him.
They didn't care for the type of publicity they were getting. They quietly went out. They did take a minister, bought a lot for him, and buried him.
So, it was on a cool, cloudy October day when Eugene was finally committed to the earth. Dressed in a new suit of clothes and cased in a fine casket, Eugene was buried in the town cemetery some 36 years after his body was found. And they still talk about him here and all over, of the little man who in death is still legend some 60 years later.
They don't see the cruelty in the things that they do.
Dehumanization. To take this man's body and use it and parade it around.
Can you imagine if black people took a white man's body, embalmed him, and other niggas was coming to town to view it? We wouldn't even like. They be like, y'all need to take that damn man body and bury it.
Niggas would say you nasty. Why you got that man body out here? Let me read this to y'all. Now this right here, I got this from Soul Black on Twitter. He found this on the YouTube comment section on the video. I saw the article and saw the video, but I didn't go into the comments. This person said, "We just found his stone today," with exclamation points. "We were exploring the cemetery and found him. The stone is beautiful. Many, many gifts. A Pepsi, tons of coins, spell jars, witchcraft, candles. I sent a photo to my family and found out my father visited Eugene in the early 60s. Said she had no idea he was buried there, but remembered going to a field trip to see the man that turned to stone." A field trip? That means you were in high school at the maximum, I'm sorry. "My father said he was terrified for years after that." So let me get this straight. Your dad went and saw this dead body in school, part of a field trip. But maybe he meant field trip as a trip he took himself. So I won't even say he was in school.
Yeah.
In the 60s. You went and saw his burial. What is your obsession with seeing this man? Y'all can see the look Trevor's giving me. What the hell is going on? What type of psychological hole? What is this?
I want to say something, but I don't want to be lewd. So I'm trying not to. Listen, I think there's more to this story than what they saying. They took this man's body and bombed it, and people just randomly came all over the country just to see this dead black man. Seems like they were coming to see something else.
I don't think they went that far.
Shit. We'd have been talking about it a couple. That's interesting. You brought this up. We've been talking about what these coroners be doing to these dead bodies.
Yeah.
And then you somehow stumble across this story. These some wicked, deranged.
Okay, now hold on. You just put something. Now see, hold on. You just put that something in my head.
I'm coming out. These people coming from all over the world. I ain't gonna say all over the world. They coming from these towns
all over the country. That man said all over the country.
And it's white people.
It's all white people. Not nan nigga.
If a nigga came to see that,
he probably like, what the?
And they came to see that and
they didn't shut it down.
They need their ass whooped.
Yeah, they would.